This is for Monday, February 3rd, 2020. Take a look at the 5 minute. I've got some dotted lines in here for a bit of a downtrend channel. I don't have it all the way up at the new all-time high, but I thought that the highs through here, at least we hit a number of them, through some wicks and some of the bodies here, pushed a little bit past that today. Again, didn't quite get to 2050, just like yesterday, when we came back down through it, or on Friday, and then tried to find kind of a midpoint and a low. And I know this is really choppy. I like that we were getting into some of the candles here, into the lows here. I'm really curious to see if we're going to have a move down here then tomorrow. So here's with the all-time high. It's it's a bit lower. I guess the one thing I could do is see if I duplicate it up here. So I get close to the all-time high, and then maybe we're onto something. So what did that do? It's really hard to zoom in on this because it's got the moving averages. Let's try to, yeah, okay. I think that works because then another channel of this looks like it goes right through the all-time high. So I think I'm on to tracking something here. So I guess the question will be, so this is the normal length of pre-market, so that would be something like this. So if that's pre-market, where could we open up? Where could we go tomorrow? We could be down here. We could be right up here. I'd like it if we were right up here. Similar open to here today, and see if we can get up into this range again and then roll back over. Yeah, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. So on the daily, it doesn't look like this at all. It doesn't look like there's this big flag going down. On the daily, you just have two bearish candles really far away from everything else. And there's a lot of space down in here that looks like we could pull back. The moving averages are trying to get there as quick as they can, but they just take a few more days. So anyway, let's zoom in on just today. Yesterday and today, and we'll see. So there was some space in between the 2050 price and the highs through here. Obviously, we opened up above it, but we couldn't even get back to 2050. And then again today, we didn't get back up to 2050, even though it was racing up there. We actually, the recovery move from yesterday, the quick sell-off down here, and the recovery move, we kind of repeated a bit of that. We were selling off pre-market. Then we opened up down here and rallied. Actually, we rallied almost as much as we rallied from Friday's sell-off. We didn't quite make a low as yesterday, at least at this point. I think we did take out the low today from Friday. The low here was 2002, 27, and 2025, or 2000 even and 25 cents. So made a little bit of a lower low today. So the edge is moving downward, and I just thought drawing this kind of channel in here would help us kind of visualize where this is going, where it's kind of tracking in this lower area yesterday and the middle area today, and now we'll see if we can get into an upper area. And that just means that we're still just going sideways, making a flag, but it could go here, could go here, could go here. I think I'd like to see it go in here and pull down some more, but we're really just going to have to wait and see. And this is kind of the bigger picture. Down in here on the day, there were some opportunities to go bullish here, some opportunities to take the rollover. This, I think, stands out to me as the best place to trade it all day. It had retested. This is a double top, retested into a neckline, a pivot neckline. High wave candle tries to break out. Some people are trapped right here, and then triggers the very next candle bearish, taking out this candle, taking out this candle. Then goes sideways in a really nice stair step for 30 minutes, giving you plenty of time to get in on any of these highs that also can't get back up to the 2025 57 price. And then it rolls over, pushes straight on through this pivot, takes out the low of the day here. And some buyers are going to come in. Well, here they come in with a nice hammer. And then they get taken out. and it looks like it's rolling over again. Just same thing, pushing down through pivots. Inside candle, still sort of really close, like slightly higher high and higher low. This in itself is another stair step that just doesn't break down, doesn't continue lower. It actually starts to move up. This move up comes right back into the 21. People think it's going to sell off, and it just continues to rally. So, yeah, really interesting moves today. And then into the close here, we did another double top here and a neckline pretty much right through here. So not as clean as, a neckline that's a pivot. This looks a little bit like a double bottom here, where this is the neckline. It looked like that was going to hold here with, again, a nice hammer. That gets taken out. So this, towards the end of the day here, had a lot more chop. Didn't really play off the pivots very well. We closed really close to one. So, we'll see where we end up if we come down into one of these, like I said, or up into this. But let's take a look at the options. So let's look at this first of all, just because that jumps out that this is a great place. Right off the 21, right off a pivot. So the triggering candle, saying like that's the one to get into, or any candle here after that, where you could have actually waited a little bit, which I always like. That it shows you where it's going, and then it gives you opportunities to get in. So let's look at 1125 and see what happened with some puts. So here's the 2000 puts. 1125 is right here, and the price on this one, the low is 1410. We don't get back down to 1410, but the range on these candles is really small. So you really could have been trading the 2000 put and just looking for it to hold the low here of 1390. So, I mean, in terms of risk to reward, you set up something to get in like 14 or 1425 or 1450, and you got your stop down here at 1350. If that's a little too much, and by the way, yeah, it moved back up into pretty much the open, and that would have been a nice move into, let's call it 23. So from 1450 up to, wait, did it even come down to 1450? It did over here. So you would have had to wait almost half an hour, and it came into 1445. So again, that's still a little bit expensive. Let's look at 1975 and see what this did. Now you're a little further away, but it's Monday and you got all week, right? A lot lower volume. I don't like that. But let's see the prices that we get through here. And so 1130, we put in a low at 765, and we come back down into 785. So I like this, doing a setup 8x7. I really like that. It looks like you would have had a fill here, and very easily gets back up to the open price at 11. Now that is only a 3-hour move. It did continue, but you're not going to make as many R's just because you're further out of the money. So a little better risk that you're more comfortable with $100 risk here. Let's look at 1990, because I know that's another pivot price. Let's see how that one acted. So still really low volume on these. Obviously this one is it's another multiple 5, but it's just lighter volume, not as popular to use, and it's not Friday where people are just getting into stuff and out of stuff. All right, so 1125, we move up, get up to 12 in here. You really have to be buying in the 12 by 11 range, and it's hard to do that with the 11 price being hit here. 1150 maybe. So the low on these two was below 1150. Hopefully you could have done 1150 by 1050 and then moved back up to the open. That would have gone up to 18. So that would have been 6.5 R, going from 1150 up to 18 if you set your target at 15. So that's a little better risk reward, but still a little more return in the R's, but still a little sketchy here with where exactly you're going to put it. And is it going to really hold that price? So let's take a look at some places to buy. So right at the gate was a place to buy. So on calls right out the gate, see, this was a $2 wick here from 14 down to 12. So that's too much. This is already the 2050 calls. We did rally really strongly and get almost back up to 2050. It was just pretty much at the money or just out of the money strikes here. And then it was selling off pretty much the rest of the day. We did come down into the 2005 pivot. Had a really nice quick bounce here with a hammer, rolled back down. And like I said, we did a stair step here that actually turned into a bit of a reversal. Nice small candle here. The next one's breaking out. So let's say you're trading these, looking at that being sort of a mini hammer and changing direction from what people are expecting for it to continue down. And let's say you're getting in 1245. So you're waiting quite a while looking for calls. So 1245 is right here. The candle's really small. So $9, maybe you could have gotten in 9 by 8. What was the low here? 825. I like 9 by 8 here. And the low here was 895. You really would have had to set this up to get in on this candle. Getting in this candle, your entry would have had to been a little bit higher. And in that case, you would have had to act very quickly too. So 925 by 825 or 950 by 850, something like that. And that would have been a bit of a scalp just because it's reversing. It's not going in the direction it's been going all day. Overall, Amazon's obviously very bullish. So you're going with the trend in that sense, but that's the daily and the hourly, and but the shorter term, you're moving against it. So you are catching this kind of bounce, and it does have a really nice move. So going from, let's say, 950 up to 1150, so it would have been 2R right there. And again, you're a bit out of the money, so it makes sense that the strike you're playing is way up here. Are you going to get way up here on the day? No. Well, you could, but most likely not, especially with this channel in here. Obviously, you'd hope that it would move back up and end the day up here and be able to get out of pivot. Instead, it rolls over, and if you had been moving a stop up, probably got trailed out, but for some sort of gain, and then pushed down a little bit lower. And so this was a trap where bulls were buying here off of the pivot. It started to go and then stopped them out. Most likely, people buying here had their stop right here, or maybe a little bit more conservative here, and maybe eked out a little bit of a gain. I don't know. So that's some ways to trade on the calls, looking for a bounce, but you're waiting all day for that. On the puts, shorting it as high as you can on the 5 minute here, obviously pushing through this downtrend, not knowing we had a channel there, and that's why I'm looking at this. I don't know that I would have drawn it like this yesterday. It really helps having some prices in here to see if we can line things up, and then having probably could have done this and this yesterday. Probably should have done that, and then been looking for how we're going to interact with that at open. And if I knew we were, not if I knew, but I knew we were down here, would I have guessed that we would have gone up a little bit and opened here? Probably not. So it helps, with having this drawn in now, I can do that, think ahead for, okay, where can we open? If that's pre-market, and if it does something similar to this, well, then we could open right here. So obviously I have no idea, but if we open around 2013, I would look for this kind of a bounce where people are looking to buy, and they're getting in, and it maybe it pushes right back up to 2038, where it initially ran up to in here 2039, and runs into some resistance here. If we can push back up here to 2050, it's going to trap more people trying to buy right up into here, and then probably push back down. But we'll see if this kind of downtrend works. If it continues to work tomorrow up here or in here or on the bottom one, which is off the screen right now. And all the while, looking for a bit more of a pullback, we've got the 1990 strike, or I'm sorry, 1990 pivot and the 1972.50 pivot. So those are the next two targets that I'd have on its way back down. And then once we get to this one, that's really similar to where this gap was. And so if we start to close this gap, it's possible we don't, and that just remains open. And then, let's see, what was this? That's not going to show up on a weekly or anything, because was that earnings? Yeah, it was earnings. So that was from a Thursday to a Friday. So that's not going to show up on a weekly. You'd have to get the right number of days right to call it like a 4-day or 3-day or 2-day or whatever number of days it is that shows up. So not a typical time frame to see that this gap here. Nonetheless, it is still a gap. So we'll see if we can hold that gap, way up here and only come down to 1972.50. But I still think that is a target before we go higher. Alternatively, this, if you can ignore the lines I've drawn in here, here, follow this one. That's a nice downtrend triangle line. And then this is a nice support through here. Around 2005 has actually been holding relatively well. So what if we do that and this and turn into a triangle, and then tomorrow we start to break out? Totally, entirely possible as well. So I don't know which way it's going to go. Obviously, I want to play it bullish, and if it starts to break out, go in the trend. If it's rested enough, here's two, sideways days after this massive earnings response. 2 sideways days that are a little more down than they are sideways. But including all the pre-market moves, this is really rested. 2 days of resting here after a really huge move. I think it needs some more, but we have formed a triangle, so we'll see if we do any sort of gap down, if we'll recover back into these lows and then roll over, if we'll gap down and then start to rally and fade all day, or if we come back into one of these downtrends here and roll over, but get above 2005. So a lot of possibilities. Keep an eye on the pre-market and see what it's doing, and look for these candles to show up right on these pivots. And try to zoom in again. If you can get some candles right on the pivots, like right here, something small like this, look to play that. It's just an R. Slip that up and step away. Let the trade play out. If you get stopped out right away, great. You took the wrong direction. Look for it to, come back into another pivot or the same one, and play it. But looking for these values, looking for these pivots to get some trades in. So hope this helps. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.